come to the end of this year. I really and sincerely like to, on behalf of the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, can we remain silent? I really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to thank all of you. I have been in the practice of journalism for years upon years, and the commitment that you come with. You know, there is a saying in our profession, they say we always like the cattle. But I don't see that among all of you, every time you come here, that you even talk about receiving that transportation, the cattle. But yet, year in year, you are taking upon your time. And every time we call upon you, you come here to get the news, to go and inform the Liberian people. If we were in some kind of gathering, I would have asked the public or yourself to clap for you. This is not to flatter you. I mean it from my heart. You have done well from January to December to cover the government through the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. What I can say to you is that your good work one day will pay off. Your good work one day. And I say appreciating you, but yet I say you're not paying attention to me. Will pay off. I'm not flattering you. I'm not saying anything to entice you. But this is somebody who practiced. Maybe I see one or two persons who practiced with me when I was in Eastern Generation practicing with me. But the rest of you, I see you as my young colleagues. But the passion you have, I know where some of you come from. I know where some of you live. And if anybody should criticize you and say you go at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, and you fight for money, fight for cattle, to pay your way and go back home, I will show my chest to that person and both of you the principles you stand for. The year has come to an end. This is December, and we are gradually going to the end of 2022. I have no other date to say this to you, but this particular date to appreciate you. You know, when I was serving as chairman of the PUL 20, we got served as chairman on the elections committee on 2019 and award night on 2018. Those are the people we look for, and these are the kind of characteristics that we look for. People who come with the passion. By the time the press conference comes to an end, some of us will be riding keke from here, motorbike, just to inform the Liberian people. How much can I say to you? But coming from the Bible background, the Bible says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. I'd like to welcome you to this press briefing on behalf of the Minister of Press, Minister of Information, Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, General Julius Rini. it is my distinguished honor to welcome all of you. And thank you again for what you do. But before I introduce to you our guest, it is important as it is that we somehow do some other housekeeping, or to assist to present to you what we need to do. Now, many of you will know that I've served the civil society so long. And I've been in the civil society even when I was practicing as a journalist. And I was in the Federation of Liberian Youth from 1999 to 2005, going to 2007. And I know how the civil society works. And I'm speaking from the background where you will have the ECC at this point in time. Despite of all that have been happening, will at this point in time come up to criticize just one segment. How many of you in the media practicing, and I follow many of you, I follow many of you. Don't think I don't follow you. I saw you following Honorable Yete Koluba when you were parading the streets of Monrovia with the motorcyclists. I followed some of you when he even introduced a state instinct that he said he brought in 300 platoons. I did not hear any civil society organization. We are approaching the governance, the key governance period, elections. And I know everybody wants to, one way or the other, justify the grants given to them. But it should not only be when a government official speaks. And I'm saying this because I know that we have checkup. There is new stuff that is being introduced in our society, fast checking. We call it the checkup. And so for those of us who come from a professional background and who also believe in speaking the truth, so that our topics and our presentation will be checked, we believe that even our friends in the civil society, the fast checkup, should not only be the one to question or to query government officials, but I expect them, and it is my anticipation, when Honorable Yete Koluba introduced and said openly, he has brought in this country 300 platoons to establish or to protect the opposition. I challenge any of you to show me a clip or to present to me a clip where the opposition or the civil society actors condemn that act. Forget about Jalawa Etompo. We are running a civilized, democratic, and a serious government. And nobody should think that we are running a revolution. We are not running a revolution. And so I expected you in the media to go after, even I listened to one of my, and I come from a strong Christian background. So help me God. And I listened to one pastor condemning a statement from one government official. And then I started to ask, why at this time? Even when the late general, many of you were not around, 1985, April 12, 1985, November 12, there was a coup in this country. And that coup was planned by a brave general called Thomas Fuma, apparently advised by some of his colleagues and his wife, then, now, Talo Fuma. Again, the same Talo Fuma came up sometime in November and said the army should take charge of this country. I didn't listen, I didn't hear the pastors or the pastor condemning. So it is only when Jalawa Etompo or any government official comes up and say something that they believe or I believe to govern this country well, and then you come out to issue a statement. Now, I'm talking about the ECC. It's had the election coordination committee. You did not condemn Talo Kumba and the rest of the people who were asking for a coup d'etat. Even though you are talking about good governance, you did not even condemn Honorable Yeke Kolba when he openly said that he brought in 300 batons to create a state. You did not condemn him. Now, somebody who stayed too long in the profession and who served in the legislature from the one branch of government to another branch of government, I understand everything about governance. We have to proceed well in this country. A week ago, the government deemed it necessary. Again, I'd like to remind all of us sitting here that in 1979, many of you, and I challenge if I ask you to raise your hand, not many of you were born. There was an issue in this country that led to a coup, a arrest riot. Today, in 5 years after His Excellency, the President of this Republic, President George M. Weah took over, he has maintained that the price of rice, and he has even subsidized the price of rice. But the global crisis, all of us know in Ukraine. And I was on Red Power the other day and I said, bag of rice was sold in this country for $15. If you don't know. But when His Excellency took charge of governance and he decided to reduce that bag of rice from $15 to $13. And I know you ask me so many questions, but I need to just provide a clarity so that your questions will not be bucket. And the government decided to go ahead. But again, with the crisis of the Ukraine and the crisis that all of us know about, all of our friends around West Africa, I'm speaking specifically to West Africa, I'm an organizing member of the Congress of West African Journalists Network. And so I know I have my network in Senegal, I have my network in Ghana, in Senegal, in Gambia, in Sierra Leone, in Guinea. And we always have meetings. And I know the price of rice, a kgb of 25 kgb. West Africa, Liberia is the lowest. And so when we decided to make the price of rice, to adjust it so that the rice will be available and affordable on the market. And I was glad when I was on the state radio and I listened to the Marketing Association president, and he said they welcome the price. And to the extent that even accept to open the market. So with that market, you can even put your microphone down, you put your gadget down and say you want to import rice. If you are importing that rice, the rice will have to be taken to the Ministry of Commerce and be tested. If it is a good rice that you want to import, well, the government will allow you to import that rice. So many good things happening and people try to call for distraction in the society. And I've always said to the Liberian people, the mindset of the Liberian people that those of us that work at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, we should be on the standby to always, because the best thing for us to do in your mind or in the mind of the people is for us to insult. But read the act establishing the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. As a professor, or adjunct professor, or instructor in communication, there are differences between communication, information, and propaganda. And you expect us to come and because the Ministry of Information, I listened to that so many times. And I sometimes wonder in my professional judgment, I wish that these people have read the act. The act did not say if Trocon Flammer has an opposition, it is Arthur Beer as an opposition. I'm using this as just an example. The opposition is government in waiting. If they insult the government, attack the government, and then I stand on the platform to showcase. No. The best thing we can do if in the worst case scenario that I'm using Trocon Flammer and Arthur Beer because they are my younger friends. If they slip along the line as opposition, or best suited to say, Joseph Boaka Cummings, if they slip the line, the best thing for us to do is to erect the necessary checkpoints and inform the Liberian people this is exactly what it should be. That is the responsibility of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. It's not to sit after taking in something else and then your brain is turning and then you go and insult opposition. We will tell the opposition you are wrong, like All of you know today, and you are not lifting that story, that Joseph Boakai and Bernard Yuri they have taken a private jet to Nigeria. And those are the people that want to rule this country. But has it been that even though George, we are the president of this country, took a private jet offered to him by the people from Morocco to attend the May Day forum, and there was a wow outcry here. Today I don't hear that in the media. And I'm not challenging the public, I'm challenging you, my colleagues, because I know I stayed too long in the media for over 2 to 3 decades. Those are the issues that you should be lifting. If somebody is anticipating, expected to run this country and running and moving somewhere else with a private jet, and you are not talking about it. But when the president of that country took a private jet at the invitation offered to him by somebody, and then you make it out of issue. They are in Nigeria having a honeymoon. Let us do justice to our profession. Let us do justice to what we ought to do. Last week, we took the press, we have media engagement, and I know it was so challenging, and that's, it's an open challenge to all of us. You know that we are not capacitated to travel, to take along all of you who are covering the Ministry of Information and Cultural Affairs, the press briefing that I've already commended. There were 40 of you. But we are not capacitated to take you along. So we went, we have a media engagement last week, the 1st of December, for what we call the CLSG land switch on. That is Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. CLSG. Yes, the day before it was small light, big light, but today it's big light, big light. And that line was switched on. And I'm glad that the acting chair of the cabinet was there on behalf of the President, His Excellency, to switch on the line. But in one of the remarks that he made, that we need to reiterate, we have to pay our dues. The dues we pay is the connection, the connectivity. I run a group called the Friends of Taboo, and those of us that came from Ivory Coast, about 292 of us, and I'm serving as the president. Now I'm president in America. I've visited many of them. Some of them are in Nickeltown. And I visited some of them, and I saw the line of the LEC. Before the switching on of the CLSG, some of them were using current. And they said, Prezo, that is there. That is there. That is there, you know what I'm talking about. The current 24/7. But with the mirror broad factor coming in, the Prezo that is there is slowing down. The chairman, the acting chair of the cabinet was very clear. We have to pay our due. We have to pay our due for the current. It's not free. Interconnectivity from one country to another country, we have to pay our dues. So if you are hanging on some kind of line, you think that it's a free line, have a simple thought. the gossip in this country, and I was glad when the EPS came up with that press release. You know, the president detailed, because of the suffering of the Liberian people, the president detailed some of them 9% escape. And the EPS was very clear as far as that agency is concerned. Until the presidents arrived, that information was completely false, misleading. That was the information provided by the EPS. Not to the knowledge of the EPS boss. I told you from the onset, look, everybody, and I make my name not because I wanted to make my name, but I interact with people. And I know what they say. If you want to hear what people say, let's go out by 9 a.m., let's say 9 p.m., run it to 12. Interact with your friends. Hey, mama, we don't want to put you on the standby, so you'll be defending. Mama, we bully you out today. Mama, we will continue to make the government to be providing the necessary information. But you're not doing it to yourself, you're doing it to the entire country. The country has passed the MCC scorecard. People don't want to hear about that. They try to bypass it. We have the health sector and the COVID-19. The fight against the COVID-19. Liberia stands third in fighting the COVID-19 in West Africa. Nobody wants to hear about that. The freedom of information and expression. Score 88%. We are giving the space for people to express, to articulate their view. People don't want to hear that. But the bazaar of everything, which is a calculated plot to spoil the image of government, is what the opposition will take. I come from a student political background at the University of Liberia, and thank God that people are doing their fast check on credentials. My credentials, all of them I got it from the University of Liberia here. So I can boast of my credentials. I know all and everybody who are in quote-unquote opposition and trying to say what I feel. I listened to a colleague of mine and said that it was a citizen that tried to secure or arrested the situation at Voice of Liberia. I don't want to go into that detail. When even the Justice Minister and the acting chair of the cabinet, because of the democracy that we enjoy today, when he saw what people were doing, not to infringe on other people's rights, and you have to send the police there, and somebody said it was a citizen that secured the situation. Look, I can tell anybody that George Weah is a free man, and he has opened the window for all of us to express. The KAK are all of you and myself enjoying today. It wouldn't have been no other person than George Weah to pass that act that we are enjoying today. Jarawa Etombo, and I'd like to let you know today, in 2000, I don't want to call it a year, but just a press statement, a press release, taken at TC 101 at the time. And then I was charged for attempting to overthrow the government. That wouldn't have been this government. This government is open to freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Just misidentity to carry a statement to the famous DC 101 attempting to overthrow the government. We are enjoying that freedom of expression and speech today, and people think that it's something that to be overlooked. All of you are aware and I said, and I continue to say, as a Bible-believing person, little is much when God is in it. The President, His Excellency, instructing the Minister of Finance to pay civil servants by December 15th. That process is ongoing. These are the good news that people don't want to hear. Civil servants. Some of you who are my relatives in the media, and some of you who are my close friends in the media. I'm telling you today that civil servants, the salary payment is current. It's current. That instruction is unbending. Civil servants will receive their salary, and it's ongoing. Today is what? The 8th, right? Am I making a mistake? Today is the 8th. So as before the 15th, everybody is on the watch. For that alert. So people don't want to see this. But I continue to say to the Liberian people, the George Weah that I know, a free man, and don't ask me about protests because I will not even answer your question. Don't ask me about protests. You dare not ask me about protests. I will now respond to your question. The Constitution of this republic that we, this government, the CDC-led government, is leading, call for a democratic space. If we are not allowed that democratic space, then we wouldn't have passed the KAK Act. But in so doing, it comes with responsibility. Before you go, you seek the permission. And that permission is given to you, you go. Nobody, and I'm saying to you, maybe this will be your headline. Nobody is threatening. Again, I'm saying nobody, even this government is not threatening. This is what the government paid for. Open democracy, participation. Please make it your headline. Please make it your headline. This is what we pay for. So if you think that you will come out, we know the history. I know the history of this country. And I'm not going to dwell that path. Yes. So where are we? But the Constitution and the statutory law called for what? That the permit should be given. So those who think that this government is afraid of protest and this government is afraid of any other thing, you should be laughing at your inner conscience. Let me thank all of you who have followed this government and continue to follow us. And I will continue to, I'm giving a green letter to say exactly the policies of this government. And I will always tell you, my friends in the media, if you say, I listen, many times you say, he's protecting his job. I was called to perform this task I'm performing to articulate the views of this government positively. His Excellency, before you could take over, projected a policy document. In that policy document, it calls for sustaining the peace. And this peace will be protected. No one person. Look, I lived in exile for 8 to 9 years and I felt the pinch. No one person will thwart this peace. So as you leave from here, I hope you'll consider checking. Those of you that do fast checking, I hope you do the fast checking on the private jet. Now Joseph Walker took from here, and then when the Moroccan government gave a private jet to His Excellency and people were questioning, some of you, I don't know, how many of you are here are research journalists? You have to do your research. Among all of you, I think I see only 3 or 4 of my students here. Media law and ethics is important. You must protect your ethics. Coming this month, sports is a unifying force. It's a unifying force. And all of us know that. And I'm glad His Excellency, you know, when His Excellency left this country, and I listen to people, even with all the explanations and all the explanation people provided, we provided, they will say the Minister of Information is not talking. The reason why they are saying that is that because we are not insulted opposition. So we are not talking. But with all the information present, we are living from here to Morocco, from Morocco to Egypt, from Egypt to Qatar, from Qatar to Monaco, from let's say from Egypt to Paris, from Paris to Qatar, from Qatar to Monaco, from Monaco, now in US. With all the information. Attending the US African Summit, and then they will say the Information Ministry is not talking. And I'm blessed. Some of you know me, all of you know me, in fact, I don't boast of my credentials. And I'm blessed to add to my credential public administration. That makes you want to understand how public policies work. Forward, like I said from the onset, is a unifying force. In the not too distant future, we will be having our county meet. Again, I'd like to say before I introduce to you our guest, the other guest has some problem, and so we are now rescheduling her for Thursday. So we have our guest, a long-time friend of mine, as a matter of fact, we both work and we know one branch. Very cleverly, we understand that branch of government. The both of us work at the legislature at a senior managerial level. Chief of staff for him, And the third person at the Liberian Senate, Director of Communication. When he was at the legislature, he was also a member of the LFA FIFA Sport Commissioner, and I've been behind his back so that they will also add me to one of the committees. He's a friend, and the good thing about this is that we are also neighbors. I always tell people in the society you live, you don't know where you'll meet. I don't know where I'll meet you. So I'm always very careful how to deal and handle people. Even if in their opposition posture and they try to go astray, you are like Jesus Christ and bring them back and educate them. My friend and brother, Honorable Andy Kwame, Deputy Minister for Sports, Minister of Youth and Sports, is our guest this morning. And all that we'll be talking about, except you don't have a county you want to support, he'll be updating us on the kickoff of the 2022 county sports meet. And I hope at the end of his presentation he will announce to you that I'm a member of one of the committees. Do you want to come? Good afternoon to members of the full estate, Minister Tompo, my distinguished colleague from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. We are grateful for the opportunity to come here this afternoon to speak to the media and to the Liberian people about the 2022-2023 bicentennial edition of the National County Sports Meet. As many of you are aware, from 1822 to 2022 is 200 years for the returns of our brothers and sisters that were sold in slavery. So this year, the government of Liberia and its people are celebrating 200 years. So this edition of the National County Sports Meet is the bicentennial edition. This year, the National County Sports Meet will start on the 17th of December in Grand Bassa County, where the official opening will take place. Grand Bassa County will be hosting Group A. Group A is comprising of Grand Bassa County, Riverside County, Grand Cape County, and Grand Jide County. Group B will be hosted in Bangabon County. Group B comprised of Bon County, Magibi, Bapulu, and Sino. Group C is Lofa County. Lofa County, Nima, Bomi, and Riverji will be in Vonjama. Group D will be in Habo, hosted by Maryland. Grand Crew is also in that group, and Mosurado County. This year, the National County Sports Meet is sponsored by ArcelorMittal Liberia Limited. ArcelorMittal this year is our prime sponsor, what we also call hairline sponsor, though we have other sponsors for the National County Sports Meet. Orange Liberia is one of our sponsors. Lesca Trust is one of our sponsors. The Liberia International Ship and Corporate Registry, APN Terminal,
NASCO, Dosberg. We have smaller companies that are also part of the sponsorship of the National County Sports Meet. This year, ArcelorMittal, for their sponsorship, provided $250,000. As part of that sponsorship, because our funding or the subsidy from the government of Liberia is yet to be provided by the Ministry of Finance, we have provided $7,000 each to the 15 counties for preparation until the subsidy provided by government can be ready. $2,000 additional were also given to the 4 counties that are hosting the counties, the 4 venues, the Grand Bassa County, Bon County, Maryland, and Lofa. As part of that sponsorship, because ArcelorMittal operates in 3 counties, they also provided additional funding. They provided $10,000 to Nima County because it is the base of their investment. Bon County, because they operate through Bon County to Grand Bassa County, they provided $7,500 each to Grand Bassa County and Bon County. LESCA, the Liberia Ship and Corporate Registry, have provided all the trophies, the medals, and everything regarding individual awards for the National County Sports Meet for this year. We want to be grateful to them. APN Terminal will also be providing jerseys for the kickball and the football category of the National County Sports Meet. The presentation of those jerseys will be done tomorrow in the Freeport of Monrovia at the APN Terminal offices. We also want to be grateful to them for their sponsorship. As you are aware, or many of you may be aware, the National County Sports Meet is the biggest sporting event in our country, and it's a major deliverable of the government of Liberia, established in 1956 by William V. Studman for peace, reconciliation, and togetherness for the citizens of Liberia to come together to play. As you also know, during the National County Sports Meet, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your affiliation regarding political parties, people go together to sing, to celebrate their counties. So it is must that we count on you journalists to preach the message of peace. Because county meet, regardless of where in Liberia you find yourself, you belong to a county. And we need you to preach, to disseminate the message of peace, reconciliation, and oneness as we celebrate the 200 years of existence of our country since 1822. The National County Sports Meet is a short-term employment for our country. It provides short-term employment for athletes, referees, match commissioners, statisticians, match commissioners, and the rest of the people. Our statistics have shown that it employs 152 referees from kickball, football, basketball, and volleyball. It also employs 1,200 athletes, footballers, kickballers, basketballers, and volleyballers. For that 2 months, counties employ or invest into these athletes, and we also want to be grateful to the Liberia Football Association for allowing their athletes to participate in the National County Sports Meet. We also want to be grateful to the Basketball Federation for allowing their athletes to participate in the National County Sports Meet. We want to be grateful to the Liberia Kickball Federation for allowing their athletes to also participate. We want to be grateful for volleyball, the elected federation, who also allow their athletes to form part of the National County Sports Meet. We also want to urge all citizens of Liberia who come from wherever country you come from, go behind your country, celebrate, and also support them. Do not use the National County Meet as just being political because you want to gain fame, but go there and be sincere in identifying with your country, support them to make sure that at least they represent your country very well. We want to say this to our citizens. The National County Sports Meet is not win at all costs. There will be 15 counties participating. There will be one winner in football. There will be one winner in basketball. There will be one winner in kickball. Regardless of the result, we want Liberia to be peaceful. If Liberia is peaceful, we all enjoy the peace. Do not go there wanting to win at all costs, at the detriment of the Liberian people. We want to urge you. And we also want to appeal to the journalists to help us disseminate this message to our people, that the National County Sports Meet, the intent for which it was established in 1956 was for peace, reconciliation, and unity. And we still believe that that reason still exists today in 2022. Last year, we had some issues with the rules and regulations of the National County Sports Meet. Those issues were resolved, and we have amended those rules for this bicentennial edition of the National County Sports Meet. We also talk about substitutions. Players that are qualified to play in the National County Sports League. Before, our law says when you play for the national team, you do not stand a chance. But consultations around the 15 counties superintendents and their steering committee, we now say sometimes some players are recruited for the national team, they play just one game and they are abandoned. They have no opportunity anymore to represent their counties. We said no, we cannot disenfranchise those players until you can play more than 5 senior international games for Liberia. You are still qualified to play for your country of birth or whatever country you may choose to play for. We also have some rules last year that says if your team is relegated from 2nd division to 3rd division, you remain a 2nd division player until after 2 years. After consultation, we say no. When your club is relegated from 1st division to 2nd division, once you enter the field to play in a 2nd division match, you are deemed a 2nd division player. So that rules were also changed. And many of the rules that we cannot already say here today, we will provide the rules and regulations to journalists who might have interest in the rules and regulations. We also talk about this year, because of financial constraint, we will be playing only 3 disciplines. We will be playing football, kickball, and basketball. We are also negotiating with the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning to make sure that subsidies that are supposed to go to the counties are provided so that the National County Sports League will be successful and the implementation of the league will also be successful. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Listen to the Deputy Minister for Sports and Minister of Youth and Sports. If you are sport inclined, please come in the queue and ask your sporting questions. No. Mr. Minister, please take note.
Thank you so much. My name is Maurice Valenti and I report for OKFM. Thank you so much, Mr. Andy, for the presentation. The first question is, over the years, we normally hear history funds regarding the money you collect during the campaigns. So I want to know where you can place, and from gate intake and all of that. Yeah. So where, and I don't know whether you have made report to who and all of that. I don't know much about that. And then I also want for you to talk about the they recently launched at-risk youth and a program by the Youth and Sports and the government of Liberia. We're going to talk about that. Thank you so much.
I'm a deputy minister for sports. I'm not deputy minister for youth. I cannot answer anything regarding youth. As they do in the ministry.
Thank you, Minister, for coming. Minister Tombo, thank you for the deliberations. And I think they are all meant for the people of Liberia. But there are some trending issues, and the issue about the census, how far the data, where are we, how many people being counted, are they still counting people? People would like to know. The National Elections Commission made some adjustment in the date of registration. People are concerned. He did mention about the election next year. We want to get some update on that. How far are we? And to the minister, I want to know the prize for the winner of this year county sports meet. The prize, I can recall I think a year or two ago, some $3 million Liberian dollar was dished out to the winner, and I don't know how much the winner for this year county sports meet will have to take home. And the last question is, the SKD, as we all know, is on a renovation. Where we expect to carry the final?
Well, thank you very much. My name is Shakespeare Says. I'm a report for CH-2 Liberia. Thank you very much, Mr. Tombo, for the deliberation of part in interesting. Thank you for bringing some praises on Liberian journalists for their coverage. I know. But my question has to do with the issue of the rights that we talk about. There are a lot of Liberians in various quarters of our country start to believe the government of Liberia when they announced the new price for rice, $17 wholesale and $17.50 retail. But there are some sharp contradictions from Senator CH-2 yesterday when he sat on a okay conversation with Julius Jet. I followed him religiously yesterday. He said that the price of the rice that the government, the new price is imposing on Liberian people are too high. And he took a back. And he also talked about bringing some rice in country that would be so below the price. And he even disagreed with the government that the price that the government sell the rice, $17 is too high. He talked about they made some negotiation with the rice importer to sell the rice at the price somewhere around $14 to $15, and they are still imposing. And he also said that on the world market, the rice price is kind of a bit lower, and then rice importers in Liberia are making more profit at the detriment of the Liberian people. Now my question here is that we want to know who is saying the truth, the Liberian government or CH-2, and even Senator Snow even weighed in and gave a unwavering support to that fight that they're going to make sure that the importer revisit that price is too high for the Liberian people. Who is saying the truth? I want to know here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Cynthia Koniza. I report from Joy and Hot Pepper newspaper. Mr. Tombo, this morning I listened to you talk about AFL Chief of Staff statement. Was that in the wrong? What do you make of that?
Okay, my name is Omar Salif and I report for the Atlantic Broadcasting Corporation. My question goes to the youth and sport. We believe that the county sport meet was meant for scouting youthful talents that are home-based purposely. But in recent time, we see the various counties does not actually scout their talents from their county, but normally do that in Morton. For instance, River G County set a roadblock in recent time, demanding that their county team be represented wholly by those who are residing within the county. Are there plans by the Ministry of Youth and Sports to put in certain criteria that those who are residing within their various county can be included within the process?
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Ralph C. Yancey from Banana FM. Oh, Mr. Gianni Kuni, Deputy Minister, you spoke about 3 disciplines for this year edition of the county meet. You talk about football, kickball, and that of basketball. But my concern is June to if women football will be included, because last year I noticed they were protesting concerning their inclusion into the county sport meet.
Okay, my name is Bakri Kale and I report for Prime FM. My first question goes to the Deputy Minister. When you are speaking, the Deputy Minister of Sports, you make 2 important points. You stress on the constraint, the financial constraint that the ministry has been faced with, especially for this year's tournament. And then you say the government have failed to provide their funding. Or the government have not yet, because it's a long-term preparation. I know up to now you said the government has not provided it yet. So I'm concerned about the success of the tournament, because up to now you have not yet received money in last year. I'm concerned about the success of the tournament. And 2, again, I'd like to ask you, someone asked about the Chief of Staff statement. I don't know how the government is receiving this particular revelation that was made, because it's scary, and many Liberians are concerned. How is the government receiving this information? How are you going about in terms of investigation in ensuring that you bring to bear this entire issue?
Thank you. I'm Stephen Ramos. My question to the Deputy Minister for Sports and the Minister of Information. Sir, in previous years, Deputy Minister of Sports, sorry. My question to you is, in previous years, there have been other categories involved into the county meet, and over 4 or 5 years now, we are yet to see the inclusion of basketball, the inclusion of other sports like volleyball and other things. Why are we, in terms of including these sports into the county meet? And my second question is, 2018, 2019, when Bomi County won the county meet, there was a promise made for the construction of a sports park. This also brought some disenchantment to the citizens, because what was promised was not really met. Are there plans in order to develop some counties or improve some counties, especially those counties that will win the county meet, in order to also be able to build those capacities within that county?
Good afternoon. My name is Gerald T. Morris. I report for Freedom FM. So the Deputy Minister of Sports at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. My concern has to do with accreditation of sports journalists. You never mentioned how sports journalists can apply for accreditation to cover the National County Sports Week. I'm aware that the Press Department launched an online accreditation, which journalists have tried to apply and it's not going through. So how can one go about it? Thank you.
Thank you. I want to start with the last person, then I go in that sequence. For the first time in the history of the National County Sports Meet, we will be launching an online platform for the National County Sports Meet for the first time since 1956. This year, you can stay in Maryland and log on to the portal. And the team manager of Maryland County will register his players and you in Australia. America, any part of the world, and access Maryland County team. We have graduated from analog to digital. This year will be the first time that we'll be trying that. Our technicians, our RT professionals are working on it. Tomorrow, actually, we'll be launching the platform. And there will be some challenges. Our director of communication is here. Probably we can gain 1 or 2 minutes to make that clarity as to why journalists are going through some problem to log on to the portal. But probably it's because we are launching it tomorrow. That's why you are going through the problem. But he will be the best suited person to say that. But officially, the portal will be launched tomorrow. It will be launched tomorrow to the public, and the public will have access. Meaning that if you are in Maryland, you don't have to come to Monrovia to. So everything about this year County Meet will be online. Registration of players, accessing who get yellow card, who playing, start list, tactical list, everything about the County Meet will be online this year. We call it the National County Sports Meet portal. So, like I said, this year is the first. We might have some challenges. Even we as administrators might have some challenges. You all bear with us. So probably that's the reason why journalists are having some tough time in applying online. So, but like I said, when I'm through, the director for communication will highlight as to why you guys are having some problem or difficulties in accessing the online platform. Yes, the guy who talked about accreditation. If the online platform is not working, we will ask you to come to the Ministry of Youth and Sports to see the Director of Communication, and I'm sure he can help you go through the process manually until at such time when the platform is launched, then we can go through that process. This year, you know that I don't know who all have been at the SKD complex. We have a specific area for journalists. Then when you go to the World Cup, you have a media tribune. Now the SKD has a media tribune exclusively for the journalists. We are also appealing to you, don't carry your friend who is not a journalist there. That play will only be exclusively for the journalists. Okay, accredited journalists. Do not carry your brother because your brother will be taking a space of another journalist. We are appealing to you to at least respect the media space so that the media will have the opportunity to work well. Those who have their journalists, who have their computer, you can take your computer to the stadium. Internet facility will be provided for you to do your work. As the game is going on, internet will also be provided for you to do your work. We are moving from 0 to 100. We know that we were banned. The reason why we were banned is for us to work on the progress of the SKD. Those who knew the SKD a few years ago, now if you go there, you have individual bucket seats. No, please dress, let's sit down. If you buy your ticket for gate 10, your seat will be available for the gate 10. If you think that you can carry somebody with you, that person does not have the same seat number with you. So there will be some high restriction this year. If you have the opportunity, you might small brother, let go. That person does not have a seat there. We also have challenges. The stadium was 35,000 before. It's now little over 22,000. 13,000 seats were taken away. You know, before it used to be, let's just sit down. But the space of the seat has reduced the stadium. 13,000 seats is gone. So we have limitations regarding seating arrangement or activities at the stadium. Please also take note, the SKD is not like before. It's actually 23,029. But by FIFA standard, you will sell 95% or percentage of the seat. So 5% will also be vacant. Now I said little over 22,000 because you cannot fill the capacity of that. You need to leave 5%, marginal variance of 5%. That's why I said 22,000, but it's actually 23,029 seats. There was a gentleman who spoke that for more than 5 years or 10 years, there have been no volleyball, basketball. I'm not sure you've been living in Liberia, sir. Because if you have been living in Liberia, you will know that the country meet. Last year, we played volleyball, basketball, athletics, football, keyboard. All the sporting disciplines were played last year. And Grand Crew carried the volleyball and basketball. Nima County carried the football, and Lofa County carried the keyboard. Athletics, overall performance was Bon County. So I'm not sure if you were in Liberia, probably you did not know. This year, the only reason why we are not playing volleyball and athletics is challenges. The government is under financial constraint. Up to now, like I said, money that is supposed to be for the National County Sports Meet is yet to be provided, as the government is paying attention to salaries of employees or civil servants. Once that is done, we believe that the Ministry of Finance will make good their promises to support the National County Sports Meet. As the National County Sports Meet, we all know it is a major deliverable of the government of Liberia. So it is the obligation of the government to support the National County Sports Meet. But as of now, the government is constrained. We are yet to get those resources to provide it to the counties. That's the reason we are not playing volleyball and athletics. This year we are in discussion with the Liberia Scrabble Federation and the Liberia Chess Federation to make sure we introduce what we call intellectual sports. And hopefully we will have them played. But we are still in conversation. Somebody talked about women football. If you know the theme of this year, we say women sports participation. It means we recognize that. Right now, we are in conversation with the United Nations Women's Office to make sure that women football will be introduced. But we're also in conversation with the Liberia Football Association to also make sure that women football is introduced. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now embarrassed to say this. We have constraint, financial constraint. The counties have more than 100 athletes to cater to. Sometimes the money we even provide to them is not sufficient. Take, for example, we provide 18,000 to each county. And you have 100 athletes, basketball, football, volleyball, athletics, this, that. They have to feed them 2-3 times a day for more than 2 months. Just multiply that. They have to travel, like for instance, a county living from either Nima is going to Lofa to play. They have to stay in hotel, they have to do everything for more than one week or 2 weeks. You have more than 100 athletes. It's not an easy thing. That's why most of the sports, the counties themselves, the superintendents, said, look, it is tough. We cannot play all the sports. 2 weeks ago, I spent 2 weeks at the Capitol building meeting the Speaker and the leadership of the House, discussing the National County Sports Week and sponsorship or support. It's tough that I cannot explain our conversation with the Speaker here. But it's tough. No money. The counties themselves are suffering. No money. Take, for example, Nima County is benefiting 10,000 from ArcelorMittal. Does Maryland have that same opportunity? No. Does Sando have that same opportunity? No. So it is only the additional funding only going to 3 counties. What happened to the other 12? Take, for example, River Says. What is the size of River Says? How many persons who follow sports from River Says to support their counties? There are not many. The enthusiasm in Nima might not be the same in River G. The enthusiasm in Grand Basso County might not be the same you have in Bapolu. The way the Basso people will support their sports is not the same with other counties. The way Magibi will support sports is not the same with other counties. That is the challenge. It will provide 18,000 across the board. But other countries have other advantages, they have other companies. The Moserado, 90% of the major companies are here in Moserado. So the superintendent of Moserado have more advantage as compared to the superintendent of River G. There are challenges. For now, we are yet to get funding for the National County Sports Week for 2022-2023. Though we are still in conversation with the Ministry of Finance. And we believe that in a few days, things will be okay. Somebody talking about scouting youthful players. Yes, that's why we have statisticians from the Liberia Football Association who are employed and go to the counties to make sure that talents are scouted. We also have in the rules and regulations that 10 of your 25 players must come from the county. That's why when you hear most of the time the counties are playing district league to determine their 10. We cannot say don't bring all your players from your county, but the law also says 10 of these players must be homegrown players. We are not in your county. If you come with your listing and register, say your player need a John Yakwaro from Lofa County. We don't have the expertise to go to Lofa to determine whether John Yakwaro is actually from Lofa. You have to be sincere to the process, and you also have to be sincere. If you decide that 10 of your players will come from your county, fine. If you decide that all of your players will come from your county, it's an advantage for your county. Let me say this. Maryland, the reason why we changed the law to say that when you play 3 times in the county league, you got to either graduate or you no longer will be part of the county league. We have to change that law because 100% of the players who play for Maryland live in Maryland and went to school there, or they live there. Maryland cannot borrow. Like other counties will come to Monrovia, also 1 or 2 players from Newtown, West Point, or 1st Division, 2nd Division. 100% of the people who play for Maryland come from Maryland. So if you change the law to say if you play 3 county meet, you graduate, Maryland will suffer. That's why we were forced to change that law. Because other counties who are very far from Monrovia, who depend on their homegrown players, you will disenfranchise them if that law will exist. That's why we changed the law. Yes, indeed, we have statisticians, technical people from the Liberia Football Association who work with us to identify talents for our Honor 17, our Honor 20, and the senior national team. Somebody talked about whether the SKD was banned and whether the final will be played at SKD. Yes, sir. SKD was banned 22 years ago. Luckily, we are now clear. That's why you saw Sierra Leone was also banned like Liberia, but Sierra Leone played more than 5 international matches here in September, October at the SKD. The SKD now is playing international matches. Those who watched the Watanga versus Rivers United was also played there. Leska versus Gadwa game was also played there. Kalong FC game, Kalong came from Sierra Leone to also play Feature FC here. Which Bo Rangers also play Constantine from Algeria here. So there have been a series of international matches being played at the SKD. Yes, the finals of the, in fact from the quarterfinal, we will be playing at the SKD Sports Complex. Somebody asked whether the prices remain the same. As of today, we cannot determine the prices per winner. Last year, the winner of the cup will take maybe 500,000, 1 million. Those prices are determined by our sponsors. This year, we are in conversation with EcoBank. EcoBank has agreed to provide the prices. If I stand here now to say the winner will take 1 million, I will lie. But we are in conversation with companies, with our sponsors, to see which one can be done by them. Like yesterday, the insurance company of Africa called me that they want to take care of the keyboard category. So we are in conversation with other companies who will come out to say we are responsible for this, we are responsible for that. But yes, indeed, there will be prices, but those prices are determined by our sponsors. So, but as we go or as we progress to the finals, the prices will be known to the public. As of now, we are still in conversation with our sponsors to make sure that those prices are provided. Like I said during my presentation, the Liberia Ship and Corporate Industry LISCA has provided all the individual awards, the trophies, the medals, and everything. They have provided that. So yes, indeed, those things will be provided. But we are in conversation with companies to determine as to which and how or how much. Somebody talked about gate intake. it's a strange thing, but I want you to listen very clearly. I don't want you to go and misquote me or misquote my presentation. The gate intake is divided amongst the 8 quarter-finalists who come to Monrovia. If you play in the quarter-final, semi-final, and grand final, the money you take home is determined by your progression. As you progress from quarter-final to semi-final, your money is completely different from somebody who dropped in the quarter-final. As you progress from the semi-final to the grand final, your money is completely different from somebody who dropped in the semi-final. But yes, after all that, we pay taxes only money to LRA. So LRA is informed. The Ministry of Finance also work with us regarding this, and we pay taxes on the money. The balance of the gate intake, Finance Ministry is aware as to what is done. Last year, Finance Ministry is aware. All the time we play County B, those money are accounted for. Right after County B, the LACC will go check our books, GAC will go check the books, and all the accounting, RAA also employ at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, or in all government ministries and agencies. They also work there and guide you as to what is to be done with the gate intake. The gate intake is not for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, it's for the participating counties. LRA taxes are paid, and the balance one, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning know exactly what is done with it. So far, I'm not sure if I captured everybody, but these were the points that I captured to talk about. I don't know if... Sir, I just told you I'm the Deputy Minister for Sports. I'm not Deputy Minister for Youth, so I cannot speak to anything regarding youth that I may not give you the rightful or accurate information regarding that. Thank you. So we want to give at least a few minutes to our Director for Communication to speak to your accreditation issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you again for journalists wanting to cover the 2022-2023 National County Sports Meet. We sent a link, and I showed that link is out there. The sports director has it, and they share it. Now, if you want to be accredited, it means that you have to apply. We want to do things the best way possible and to make it easier. We all believe in best practices. So you have to apply. Now, I don't know, we have received over 35 to 37 applications now. It doesn't mean when you apply, you'll be accredited. It doesn't mean when you apply, you'll be approved to be accredited. Now, one problem is, if there's an image there for your photo, it says 2.20 kilobytes. Now you reduce your photo to that size. When it comes to us, we will increase it to insert it on the accreditation card. So we want to encourage all of us to make sure that we apply. If we don't apply, don't come to the Ministry of Youth and Sports and say, I'm a journalist and I want accreditation. Let us do things the best way, and the best way is easier way that we all can make sure that the country is successful. And as a responsible journalist, make sure you make sure that you want to apply to it. We want to thank you and hope that, you guys will apply. Again, applying doesn't mean give you the right to be accredited or be approved. Thank you very much. My name is P. Oxford Brown. The link it's on we send it on the Facebook page, on the ministry page, on my page. SWA has it. It's supposed, so you gotta be a sports writer, a sports journalist now.
We want to thank the Minister of Youth and Sports. Like we said from the onset, sports is a unifying force. And before I answer your questions, all of us here in this room come from different backgrounds, different countries. It behooves all of us to support our counties. And don't say you don't have the means. Even if you can send $20, $1,500, it will go a long way. So don't just depend on saying that counties are under sponsor. I particularly left out these questions, and I knew that as a practicing journalist like yourself, I knew that these questions would have come out. The issue of the census, the issue of the elections, I knew that these questions would have come out. Truth be told, I have that on the upper half of my chest. And I knew if you guys have not asked a question, then I would have questioned your journalistic judgment. And I'm glad I took on Flammer from the other institution, asked these questions. So the censor is well, uncle. But what we are doing is that not to confuse and not to blend the censor with that of the spokes. We decided to set aside the censor for the special press briefing. And so the special press briefing, by the time the modality is being worked out, by the time we, at the end of the day, all of you, the censor acting director general, the latest acting director general should have been here today, but we have to schedule it because of the importance attached, and because of the importance attached to the guests that we are having today, and not to conflict the censor with all the presentation. The censor presentation is separated from the presentation we have today. That includes the NEC. If you call Henry Flomo and he tells you, if you call the NEC boss and she tells you that I didn't speak to them, no, you believe me. So we also set aside a special date for the NEC to come and make a pronouncement. We also set aside a special date for the latest boss to come and do a presentation. I hope I answered your question. You know, I'm not giving myself this credit because I want to give myself a credit. I'll follow all of you here. Even the online TV, I'll follow you. So the question my distinguished brother asked about CH-2, Senator CH-2, and the good thing was before coming up here, even in the car, asked, having a conversation with Senator CH-2. So I don't want to say that it's not something good to tell your colleagues the other way. But I beg, and I beg that you go back to that recording of Senator CH-2 and understand from whence he came when he said he wanted to bring in rest. And the rest, in the not too distant future, I can tell the Liberian people, with the opening process, the opening market, in the not too distant future, even with the $17.50 at the retail price, by the time maybe if I have the money to bring in rice, if I start to bring in rice and I send the rice to Ministry of Commerce and they send it to the lab and that rice is approved, I start to bring in rice. Even the $17.50 we're talking about, before you look, it will reduce. So Senator CH-2, a distinguished senator, chair on the executive, I hope you listen to him well. The next question has to do with the AFL Chief of Staff statement, whether it was not in the wrong or whether it was in the wrong. And I'm asking you, where has he gone wrong? I'm asking you, where has he gone? No, you are a journalist, myself, I'm a journalist. That's why the president says, see, you are a journalist, go and deal with your colleagues. You are a journalist, I'm a journalist. Where has he gone wrong? I want you to tell me, where has he gone wrong? But be as it is. You were in the media and you follow the social media, all around here, you follow the social media. The social media, and thanks be to His Excellency that he has appointed an assistant minister to assist me for the national, the new media and national branding. New media and national branding. Very effective. Brought the MICAT page from 34 to 30, from 30 to 34, we're now running up to 64 to 70K. So I follow the social media quite well. And if you follow the social media as a journalist, when somebody makes a statement calling for a constitutional authority to be overthrown, and you don't take that statement and you don't publicize it and you don't question that person, then the social responsibility theory that we teach you in mass communication is questioned. So when the opposition speak, then you pick it up. And you don't pick it up. When an authority speaks to a particular issue, then you pick it up. So you want to ask me whether he was in the right or he was in the wrong? There was a question asked him, and he spoke to the question. And he said exactly what he wanted to say. And how is the government, the distinguished gentleman from Love FM, it's not Love FM, but Fuma. And how is the government receiving it? I mean, the man spoke his mind. He spoke his mind. And I will say to all of you and the Liberian people listening to me, that we will not go back to 1980. Not many of us were born in this room, 1980. We will not go back to 1985. We are not going back to Egypt. We are not going back to Egypt. If you never live in exile, I live in exile, and I experience what it means to live in exile. If you want to protest, the democratic space is given. Follow the rules. I know you watch a movie that says rules of engagement. Engage the rules. And once the rules are followed, we will proceed. But this country that is being governed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, George M. Buya, you can criticize. It is acceptable on our democratic norms. You can say whatever you want to say. But the best place for us to meet democratically to fight a democratic battle is at the pool. And so let's meet. Let us meet 2023 at the pools, and we'll beat you hands and face down. Thank you for coming. I'd like to say thank you again for always coming here. I know we'll meet next week before you go for your Christmas break. Even though I know that there is no Christmas break for the media, but we'll meet next week Tuesday, God willing. Thank you, and God bless you, God.